And welcome back, folks. Thank you for joining me here on the afternoon session. This is the Law&Crime Network. We're in Florida, where the state has just rested in the case against Jimmy Rodgers. This is the case in which he is accused, along with two other co-conspirators, of killing Teresa Sievers, the doctor married to Mark Sievers. His trial to come. Said, if you can't say it was one person, one particular weapon, the order of the strikes kind of helps Jimmy Rodgers, I suppose. Joining us here this afternoon with the rest of my guests, Gene Rossi is here, former federal prosecutor. He is a law and crime analyst. Thank you, Gene, for stopping by. I appreciate it.
Thank God it's Friday.
Haven't seen you in a while. So I brought you in on this gruesome case because I need to get your take on this. Cross-examining the ME when all you really got to work with is, hey, you can't put the hammer in my guy's hand. That's about it, right?
Yeah, when you cross-examine a medical examiner, there's not a heck of a lot you can get out of them other than what he just tried to do is you can't determine whether it's one assailant or 20. You can't determine whether it was a hammer, a machete, or a knife. There's no DNA that you found from other people. There's no evidence of any rape or sexual assault. That's about all you can do. It's not going to be a home run, but at least you have to put some seeds in the minds of the jury that maybe it was not Jimmy Rodgers and his buddy Wainwright. Maybe it was somebody else.
Yeah, and you've got to fill those holes, and the jury tends to do that on their own. So stand by. Also here, Eklund Mercy and Brad Micklin. So we're all going to continue to chat about this case as we continue to review some of the testimony from earlier today, specifically the ME, who was kind of the cherry on the top of the sundae for the prosecution, wrapping their case up today. Let's go back into court for more of the ME. So there's the ME on cross-examination, getting into, among other things, how often is a hammer, used? Is that a normal kind of thing? Kind of piqued my curiosity as well. So I'm going to ask my panel here, kind of a pop quiz. I know you can't study for these, but I trusted your judgment. I'm going to ask you, of three different weapons, which one do you think is used most often on an annual basis for murder? Okay, obviously hammer or blunt object is one of them. Rifle or shotgun? I'm taking handguns off the table because they're overwhelmingly the number one murder weapon, and I don't say that for political purposes, just a fact, about 6,400 a year on average. So let me start with you, Brad Micklin. Rifle, shotgun, hammer, object.
So you're saying murder of another person, not like a suicide.
Yes.
I'm going to go with hammer because it's convenient.
Okay. Eklund Mercy, what do you think? Rifle, shotgun, hammer?
I'm in Atlanta, so I'm going to have to say shotgun for the win.
Someday we're going to have to go into the background for that answer at some point. I'm not sure. Gene Rossi, what do you think? Rifle, shotgun, hammer?
Eklund's right. Shotgun.
Okay. I thought I might have tipped my hand because we're talking about a case in which hammers are used. But in fact, if we look at the numbers, these come from the FBI Uniform Crime Report, you can see that hammers are used on average in 558 murders per year, shotguns 380 per year, rifles 350 per year, and of course, handguns overwhelmingly the weapon of choice for murders. So when the ME just spoke about that, it was not unusual for him to see, and as we can see, it's in the top 5 in terms of murder weapons.
And what's my prize?
What's that again?
What's my prize?
What's your prize? You get to stay on for another 52 minutes. If you had lost, you'd have to stay on for an hour and a half. Okay, so we're going to listen to more of this ME's testimony. Again, on cross-examination, this is the guy who is laid out for this jury, the pain. This is the story that, in fact, let's go to redirect now. This is the story being told to this jury. Really, it's going to inflame their passion and their sympathy for this victim. Let's listen. Here's one other point about the ball-peen hammer that wasn't touched on there by the ME because he's not a machinist. But even this one that I haven't used very often. It's a very special use hammer. It is more dense than a normal hammer, than a hammer like this. And, arguably it might be more effective if you're trying to, smack somebody over the head with it. Brad, how much detail does this jury really need to know? I mean, do they have to be just hammered with this?
I don't think the type of hammer is going to really matter. I think the only point that the defendants can use is that they don't know who did it. It could have been Sievers. It could have been Rodgers. There's no certainty, and if you're going for reasonable doubt, I wouldn't pick which hammer it was. I would pick which person did it.
And Eklund, they don't have a lot of luck in being able to do that, but the redirect here by the pros made it very clear they wanted it known that these two hammers were used. It wasn't just one hammer. It wasn't then maybe just one person. It had to be two, including the defendant.
Absolutely, and it's helpful to say that there were two parties acting, so it goes with the it goes with the state's case that hey, these two men actually murdered this woman. So it kind of falls in line.
Gene, bigger question here. You're handling the defense. What's your move? Are you going to put on a case as the defense attorney? Are you going to hope that what you did in cross does what you needed to do?
Oh, I think they have to put on some case. If they don't at least make an attempt to defend themselves, even though they don't have to, I think the jury deliberation could be very quick. But on the hammer issue, you know, Rodgers, the only way he's going to have a hung jury or an acquittal is if he establishes that Wayne Wright is a pathological liar and he just made this all up, or he acted alone, or he acted with somebody other than Jimmy Rodgers. That's the only way they're going to get Rodgers a hung jury or an acquittal.
Yeah, I mean, we know that if you believe Curtis Wright Jr., it's game over. I mean, that is game, set, and match. So that's a tough call. And remember, Jimmy the Hammer Rodgers, according to his girlfriend, admitted to what he did. We're going to take a break. We're coming back. More on this case out of Florida on the Law and Crime Network today.